right, so welcome to the second session of Enterprise SaaS B2B Design Workshop. And something about myself. I'm Mehekk, a product designer working in the field for over 8 years, and I've worked mostly with SaaS and B2B companies. Originally, I'm from India, but right now I'm working in the Netherlands. And today in this workshop, we'll dive into the challenges and strategies which are unique to B2B design, like designing for complexity and scalability. In the last 8 years of my experience as a designer, I've designed many products, I've simplified many complex systems, I've created modern versions for the legacy designs. So there's a lot that I really want to share with the community. So thanks for being with me today. And what is there in store for you? Something about enterprise UX. We'll discuss how design in enterprise UX differs from the consumer apps, the B2C apps. We have a short interactive session where we do an activity on feature prioritization, and at the end, I will take up your questions. So, enterprise UX. In the first workshop, I covered the basic differences between B2B and B2C products, but I can touch upon them again today in brief. So if I have to sum up enterprise UX into words, it will be data and user base. That is how it differs from your consumer-facing products. So now you think that data is also present in B2C apps, right? But what makes enterprise products different from B2C products is the privacy and sensitivity of the data, the nature of the data. In B2C, for example, you see Uber Eats, right? Or any food delivery app, for example. They have a lot of data about the restaurants, their locations, their menus, and everything that is like publicly available. And restaurants, they don't really have to protect that data because they want to share it with as many customers as possible. They want more revenue, they want more business, and that is their model, right? But when it comes to the enterprise UX products, the B2B stuff, data is very crucial to these companies because more often than not, these companies are working with other companies and not directly the people or directly the consumers. The end product may not be, the end user may not be the consumer. So they have to protect the data even if they have to buy additional softwares or, they have to abide by industry specific guidelines, sometimes even the country specific guidelines. For example, in Europe, we have GDPR that most companies have to adhere by. So that is how data is different in B2B and B2C products. And the second difference is the user base. So in B2C, the user base of the app can be anyone. It can be a student, it can be a housewife, it can be a doctor, a pilot, anyone can order food from an app. But when it comes to a B2B or enterprise UX product, the users are very specific. Mostly they are trained, they undergo like days and weeks of training to understand what the app can do for them. That is because the learning curve in B2B is very steep, whereas in B2C you can reach your final goal in maybe 2 or 3 steps. So imagine ordering food, it takes maximum a few minutes. But in B2B, that is not the case. User journeys can be long. The end goal can be complex. You may have to perform a lot of steps to optimize your data and finally figure out where you want to take it next. But that is not so in B2C. And that is where the user base becomes different. And the last point that I would like to touch upon is that in B2C apps, the end user is the customer. So if you are using the app, you are buying from it. But in B2B, that may or may not be the case. The end user can be the customer as well, but maybe that is not so. Maybe they are a business who further have to cater to another set of users. So that is where the complexity in the enterprise UX product enters. And when we talk about designing for enterprise products, there are many topics, but today I would like to touch upon just 4 of them. Designing for complexity, designing search-first experiences, designing for scalability, and lastly, personalization at scale. So, designing for complexity. What is complex design in B2B context, and how do you design keeping all that complexity in mind? So think about a pilot's cockpit for a moment. So there are 300 to somewhere 1,000 controls in a cockpit. The newer aircrafts have more than 1,000 controls also. And all of these controls you may need in the middle of the flight. So how do you eliminate the process? How do you like make it short, make it simple? And this is exactly the situation that we find ourselves as designers for enterprise products, where we have thousands of features that we want our users to use, and mostly there is no other way around but to just simplify, maybe group them, but we cannot eliminate them. So elimination becomes really hard when we have that kind of a product. And when we talk about designing for complexity, we can shorten the workflows by identifying redundant steps or remove them. Uh, or we can reorder the steps to make them more sensible. Eliminate similar journeys by having one way to achieve one task, or implement personalization for every group. So there can be different groups of users who are using your platform, right? So consider Netflix. So in Netflix, you can create different profiles. Maybe you and your husband or your partner have different profiles in Netflix, and you have a third one for your children. There they have simplified and also added a bit of personalization. I will come to personalization in after a few slides. So Netflix has created these different profiles and user groups because they want to show different content to different type of people. So another example that I would like to share here specifically for complexity is Shopify. So as I told you, like sometimes it is very difficult to eliminate the steps. So what Shopify did was, instead of eliminating the steps, they reordered the steps to make them make more sense. So initially, when Shopify launched, they had a series of steps that a user had to complete before they could create a shop. So first, the user had to choose a name of the store. The second one was they had to configure all the tax settings and shipping details and payment gateways. Then they were supposed to add the products. And finally, the fourth step was to set up a custom domain details. And then they were able to, enter the Shopify workflow where they could see their products and they could see how their shop looked. But this was complex because most of the users, they did not know, what exactly the name of their store is going to be. And many of them did not have the tax information readily available when they were signing up on Shopify. So what they used to do, like after just the first step, they used to drop off. So the onboarding was heavily impacted. So Shopify decided to reorder the same steps. So they asked their users to first add their products, because if you are going to set up a shop, you will have a list of products already in your mind. You may not have all the tax information and all the legalities sorted out, but you will at least have the list of products that you want to upload on your shop. And that is what they asked the users as the first step. So when the users saw a change, they were more comfortable in getting themselves onboarded on the platform. So this gave users a sense of progress, and it did not scare them away, especially when they did not see the tax information as a necessary step. They were more comfortable in completing the onboarding because Shopify not only reordered the steps, they also made those steps like non-mandatory. So you can fill the information later. So this one crucial change in their onboarding not only helped the users onboard faster, but also establish a trust in the platform. So this heavily reduced their onboarding time and attracted a lot of new customers. The three things that we can improve through designing for complexity are increased efficiency in enterprise workflows, increased feature adoption rate. So by efficiency, I mean like task completion time or user errors. And if the task completion time is reduced, so the efficiency increases. And the second one is increased feature adoption rate. So when the users are confident about using a product, the product seems to be less complex to use, and the feature adoption rate increases. If you launch a new feature as a designer, users will be less scared to use it and try it out. And the last one is increased retention and reduced churn. By retention, I mean how many users actually, sign more contracts, longer contracts, and extend their contract, and they are retained as users, and a reduction in the churn rate, which means they don't go to your competitor, or they don't go somewhere else. They don't like delete their profile, or stop their contracts. So that is what we mean by churn. The next section, designing search first experience. So what is a search first experience and how to design one? So in this for this particular topic, I've chosen HubSpot's HubBot. So this is an AI chatbot that solves many customer problems just through chat. So you may have encountered a lot of chatbots these days, especially AI powered ones in a lot of tools where you can just go type your query and they give you answers. So HubSpot earlier, they did not let their users mostly the users of HubSpot were actually reaching out to customer support for even small issues. So this was causing a lot of, you can say, load or pressure on their CS team, and they had to handle a lot of customer requests, which were otherwise, very easy to be solved using something like an AI chatbot. So that's where HubSpot launched a HubBot, and many websites these days have similar AI chatbots. Given the amount of complexity that any platform can have, it can be hard to think about all the scenarios that a chatbot can solve, and offer them exact solution through chat. But at least, the surface level problems can be addressed. And if the user still needs more help, then you can always redirect them to a real human. And the next search first experience example that I can think about is every single AI app or AI tool that we are seeing right now. It can be ChatGPT, it can be Grok, it can be DeepSeek. So all of them are search first. So as far as you or I, we understand how much we have interacted with AI so far. Mostly they are all based on search first experiences. So it can be content generation or image generation. Every single AI app starts with a prompt where you tell the tool what exactly you need, and it executes your request. And all the platforms so far are search first. So instead of forcing users to fend for themselves or find their own way, so these chatbots and these AI tools are actually reducing the learning curve and making it easier for the users. Even those who don't have any experience with tech, they can still use ChatGPT to get their answers. So that is where they have reduced the learning curve by a lot. And the 7 metrics we can analyze through designing search first experience. The first one is the search success rate. So how successful is your search if the users are happy with them? And this can be analyzed by analyzing, like, if your user did not ask similar questions again and again. So if they were satisfied in the first answer or maybe it's the second answer, that means your search engine is doing good. The second is time to result. So in how many microseconds is your tool able to generate a result? And the third one is click-through rate. So how many times the user is clicking through the platform, where they are clicking, and if they're satisfied with the results or not. And then we have search abandonment rate. So if the user just abandons the search, they just close the tab, or they don't perform any action after the search result has been generated, that is your search abandonment rate. And then we have query refinement rate. So if the user is not getting what they want in the first prompt or maybe the first request, then they refine their query again and again. And if the user is doing that many times, they're doing it frequently, that means maybe your search results are not as good. And then we have frequency of the search usage. If the user is happy with the platform, and if they're again returning to the platform every day or every hour, so this is a good sign for your platform that you have user retention. And lastly, we have the impact on support requests. So a low support ticket rate, it tells us that users are independently able to use your platform without needing any external support, and it is seen as a success. And the third section is designing for scalability. So what is scalability in the context of enterprise UX, and how do you design for scalability? So when we talk about scalability, we mean configurable dashboards, So this is one example I can think of. So users should be able to move or position the dashboards in the way they want to see the data, and performance optimized UX. So in case of data heavy platforms, you can show only a limited information first instead of, trying to load the entire thing at once and delaying the loading time, like increasing the loading time and making the user wait. So in the screenshot or the GIF in the slide, you can see that there are three types of loaders that, appear on the screen. The first one, you see a skeleton, and the second one is a loader that moves, and the third one is nothing. So in the third one, it may work for some B2C apps, where the data is not too much to fetch. But it is the least intuitive one in enterprise UX context, because when you're designing for data heavy products, you cannot use the third one at all, because maybe your app is fetching data from servers, maybe it is sending calls to the APIs, and in that case it may take a lot longer to show the data. And in the third case, you are essentially making your users wait for they don't know how long. And this is how you should not design for scalability, because today if you have only 5 things to show, the third example may work really good. But when you think of long term, you may have 500 things to show. The third one is the least intuitive one. So you can either use a skeleton, or you can use a loader, or even better, if you you have a tool or an app that takes really long to show data, you can also show the user the number of seconds they might have to wait. So that kind of intuitiveness allows the users to be a little more patient, and it also gives them a clear context about what how long they should wait before they see something on the screen. And then when we talk about scalability, we mean the following things. The first one, role-based access. So designers should advocate for role-based access for users and define custom roles and permissions. So this allows you to separate the you can say your interface, not exactly the interface I would say, but still separate your tool or app in a way that specific users with specific permissions see specific data. So that way you don't have to load a lot of data every time for every single user profile. And the next one, bulk actions. To help your platform scale, you can provide bulk actions at an early stage. For example, bulk delete to save time, bulk select, or bulk move, or bulk reposition, and bulk filters. So these kind of actions help you to make your tool scalable at an early stage. Infinite scrolling is also in a way designed for scalability, because if you remember the interfaces from like 20 years ago, if you look at the screenshot of YouTube that I have in the slide, this one is from 2006, almost 20 years ago. You can see how old the interface looked, but if you would remember, YouTube also had a pagination. So in the top, in the bottom, you cannot see the pagination in the slide, but in the top, you can see videos 1 to 20 out of 100, just in the top row where you have most viewed. So this was their idea of scalability earlier, yeah. And Google search has pagination even now. So in the first page, you only see a specific number of search results, and then you can move to page 2, 3, and 4. This prevented users from seeing unlimited videos. And it was good in a way because people were not as hooked to social media. But this is a great example for designing for scalability, the infinite scrolling, I mean, because now you can see unlimited data on social media apps like Instagram, YouTube, and it's like endless right now. It's a bottomless pit. So now the interface accommodates everything, and there is no pagination that tells you that there are 1,000 or even 10,000 pages that you have already seen. So this is how, in a way, they have designed for scalability. And in 2019, I published this case study on first on Behance, then on Medium, and it's also available on some of my other social media platforms. And this case study was about Instagram not having bulk options available for their users. And I would always think, like, how do the celebrities, for example, they have hundreds of posts on their Instagram account. How do they like completely wipe it off? Because I remember back in 2018, 2019, Miley Cyrus and Zayn Malik, these are the two stars that I follow on Instagram, and they completely wiped off their Instagram clean. Like there was no post, no photograph, no video, nothing. And all of their fans were really distraught because they thought that maybe these two people are going to leave the platform. But in reality, what happened was they were going to launch their new albums and they wanted to promote them. So they just completely deleted all the old content. And in some cases, celebrities go through breakups and they don't want, their pictures with their exes. So they just delete all of that. But in Instagram, someone has to do it one by one on every photo, every video, because there is no bulk option available. So that's when I actually wrote this case study. And to my surprise, it's 2025 and Instagram still does not have bulk options. So I suggested these three options. First one can be a time-based solution, like if they want to delete, all the posts in a certain time frame. Maybe they were with the person and they are no longer with that person anymore, and they just want to get rid of that particular time frame of content. They can do that. And the second one was tag-based deletion. So if they're using a particular hashtag on all of the particular photos and videos, so if they're launching a new album, for example, and they are using a hashtag to promote that new album, but after a few years they don't want that content, then they should be able to use tag-based deletion. And the third suggestion was a bonus promotional campaign. So if a celebrity wants to run a promotional campaign, they should be able to do that with a single click. The screenshot I have also given in the slide. But yeah, Instagram did not read my case study, bad for them. And even now, people are manually deleting all of their posts like one by one to wipe off their account, which is a pain. Yeah, and the three things if we can improve through designing for scalability are customer retention. It can be measured through Net Promoter Score or CSAT, and operational efficiency, which is the resolution time of support tickets, and revenue growth. So, what is the conversion rate and expansion revenue of the company? If you're designing for scalability, so you can see if your customers are happy with it, if you have a low number of support tickets coming in, and if your revenue is growing. And the last section is personalization at scale. So what is personalization in the context of enterprise UX, and how to design for personalization? So in the context of B2C or consumer apps, personalization means the same app or the same product serving different experience to different users. But when it comes to B2B, the best example I can think of personalization at scale is Google Workplace. So Google Workplace offers smart personalization options, like you might know about auto compose feature within Gmail. So it has been tailored to different user groups. So Gmail automatically suggests you the next line while you are typing the email, right? So the same feature is equipped in their other tools as well. So if you are a salesperson, for example, Gmail will suggest you a different copy and a different type of language, and Gmail may suggest you to end your mail with a call to action that suggests you the other person to, feel free to book a call, or, feel free to reach out to me. Here's my calendar link if you're a salesperson. But if you're a project manager, it may suggest you a different kind of language in your emails. Similarly, if you're using their Google Drive, if you're a project manager, if you are, let's say, frequently checking a particular file every day, Google Drive will, after some time, Google Drive will start to show you that file on top as the most recent or the most seen file. So this is also an example of personalization, the way Google personalizes their users' experience on every single application they have. And if you run a small company who's using Google's Workspace suite, You can enforce security policies at scale, but at the same time, individuals in your company can still have their own preferences for how their Google products look and work for them. And another example I can share for personalization, this is something I touched in the first section as well, is Netflix. So Netflix is not essentially a B2B tool, I would say. It is rather a consumer app, but you can still understand personalization in a way that if you have same credentials, let's say you're logging in through the same username, same email, or the same password, you can still have a different watching experience for Netflix. So for example, here you can see 4 profiles. So what Scarlett might be seeing inside her Netflix can be completely different from what Sunny might be seeing. So this is how Netflix curates the experience of its users. So I have a different account and my husband uses a different account. But whenever we sign into Netflix, like we have exactly the same ID and the same password, just different profiles. But when we see our homepage, it is completely different because the kind of movies that I watch, I see similar kind of suggestions. And he sees the suggestions for himself. And we have a separate, like a kid's profile for our son. There you have a completely different Netflix experience where they've blocked all the adult content and it's only for children. So he sees completely like something completely different from what I and my husband see. So this is how they have, you can say, segregated the user into groups. And using AI, I'm sure they are recommending you the content similar to what you've been watching. So they analyze your content and they recommend similar stuff. And the 5 metrics we can analyze through personalization are time to value. So time to value should be reduced. How quickly users can derive results and value from your product after onboarding. So that is time to value. Does it take them too long? Does it take them, days to extract some value out of your product? Then you definitely need to do something about it. It should be reduced. The second one is the session length and frequency of the user return. So for how long your users are able to use your product at a stretch, and frequency of user return, how frequently are they returning to your product, and reduction in error rates. So what kind of errors your users are making, and if there has been a reduction after redesigns or not. And then we have customer lifetime value. So this is where your finance team may help you to analyze the revenue that the company has been able to generate through a returning recurring customer. So this can be measured through the amount of signing contracts or the extension of existing contracts, and it can be concluded through the value if the customers are happy with your platform or not. And the last one is churn rate, which should also be reduced. So churn rate, as you already know, it means customers leaving your product for an alternate or for a competitor. A reduced churn rate is what every company wants. And this was the completion of the 4 sections, and now we dive into the activity. And so for today, I've kept it really simple because in the last workshop we had some hiccups using the tool, and also the time was really less. So today I just want you guys to experience a feature ranking poker. So here, you are a part of a product team at a SaaS company that builds a POS system for restaurants. A POS is a point of sale system, where the customer is going to pay, and you have the entire ecosystem in place for that. And your clients include small cafes, fine dining restaurants, you have large food chains, and they rely on your POS system to process orders, manage inventory, and handle payments efficiently. So think about it from a restaurant's perspective. Let's say you are running a cafe and you have this one system or one tool where you can see all your kitchen inventory, like how much raw material you have in the kitchen, what is missing, what is low on quantity and needs to be ordered and refilled. So that's how you manage inventory. And then you have your order processing system in place where you process the orders from the customer, like how so whenever a customer enters your cafe or your restaurant and they place an order, it goes into the system and it shows you, what dishes have they ordered, what is the value of that table. And finally, the payment handling, that is when the customer has enjoyed their meal and now they want to pay for it. So the recent customer feedback has highlighted 5 feature requests but your development team can only build one feature in this quarter. So you must decide which feature to prioritize. Now, you don't have access to customer data right now, so you will need to work with your logical assumptions about what would drive the most value according to you. Now let's go to the activity board. And I will share the link in the chat. I think you should be able to access it. Yeah, I can see some of you there. Great. All right. So, because your development team only has the bandwidth or the budget for one feature, so you have to decide here which feature is going to get that spotlight in the next quarter to be built. And you have 5 features from your customers that they want. Let's see what those 5 features are. The first one is offline mode transaction. So restaurant lose business when the internet goes down. So this feature would allow payments and orders to process offline, syncing automatically when they are back online. The second one is automated inventory alerts. So many restaurant owners struggle with ingredient shortages. This feature automatically notifies them when the stock is running low based on sales trends. The third one is multi-location menu sync. Chain restaurants need to update their menu across all locations instantly, ensuring consistency in pricing and availability. And the fourth one is QR code ordering for tables. So instead of waiting for a server, customers can just scan a QR code at their table and order directly from their phone, and the order goes to the kitchen. And the last feature is AI-powered sales forecasting. It helps restaurant managers predict busy hours, rush hours, and optimize the staffing levels to reduce labor costs and increase efficiency. And here, yeah, just below the entire text, you can see I have listed these 5 features in sticky notes, the yellow sticky notes, and below it, I have these points 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you can add your name here. Let me just add 1 for Kishore. And now you have to decide which feature gets the low priority, which is 1, and which feature gets the highest priority. So let's work as a design team here and let us see which feature gets the most points or the most score. And that is the feature that our dev team will pick up in the next quarter for development. And yeah, we all have 5 minutes to just think about it, read through it, and then see, how we prioritize our features. So just change your names here, like add your names, and yeah, you can start. Okay, no problem. But yeah, we can see that the highest goes to the offline mode transaction because this is where most of the participants have either a 4 or a 5. So this feature wins and will be taken up by our developers. So good job, design team. Great. Now, coming back to the presentation, we are at the last leg. Yeah, so prioritization requires assumptions, and because we don't have any data available, like for this activity, we did not have any customer data available, so that is when your assumption and your intuition as a designer comes in. Different stakeholders may have conflicting needs, as we all ideated and we all got into, we wore our thinking caps and we got into the understanding of how a restaurant or a cafe might operate. So we understood like how a small cafe might have a different need from a big, large restaurant food chain. The short-term versus long-term impact plays a key role in decision making. There is no single right answer. Prioritization depends on business strategy and goals. And we did a great job as a team today. Questions. So now I will take up questions that I got in the registration form. So the first one was, I would like to learn showing metrics when you don't have real ones. So I think the better question here should be how to collect metrics rather than showing metrics when you don't have real ones, because you obviously can't make fake numbers, else you will have to justify them. Consider this. You can always say that my designs reduce the time on task by 20%, but how did you measure that? Well, tools do you use to measure your time on task. So it's better to know how to collect metrics even with limited resources. If you're working on an app but you don't have paid tools like Heap or Hotjar, you can still use your available resources like your customer support team. Ask them about the difference in support tickets, before and after the launch of a new feature, and I'm sure you can see some difference there. The next one, measuring the impact of UX in SaaS products, is challenging due to many ways clients can integrate and use the product. How can I predict, track, demonstrate UX impact when traditional methods don't always apply? For SaaS products, majorly, you will have to rely on data, not just user sentiments. Unlike customer products, where you can go to an app store or Play Store and read what your users have to say about the product. It is unfortunately not the case in SaaS and B2B. Almost all the time, you will have to rely on data, and if you don't have access to data directly, you can always ask for data from the teams who have the access. You can always analyze the befores and afters of a launch. You can reach out to your PMs, your sales team, or maybe your customer support team. I'm sure they would be tracking everything. So your QA team and CS team can tell you about reduction in support tickets in a particular area which was redesigned. So that is how you can find and hunt your data. The third one, what are some challenges you face conducting user research for B2B platforms and how did you overcome them? Mostly the challenges are around time. I particularly face challenge around recruiting the participants and getting them on board for an interview. It's not like they don't say yes, but sometimes they have busy calendars and we have a time constraint over a research project. We want to finish the research and get done with the interviews in 4 weeks. But sometimes the participants who agree to participate are only available after week 4. So it is hard to get them on board in time. Also, you have to have some extra time at hand to analyze all the data after the research is done. You need to conclude the findings and synthesize everything into features that we would like to develop. I learned this the hard way through failures, delayed research projects, and push deadlines. And to overcome this, I now always start with sending the recruitment emails on day 1 of a research project. I don't wait to prepare a research plan or even a questionnaire for them. I send them emails first, get their schedule, get a time from them, which is usually weeks away. Then side by side, I do my preparation that is necessary for the research. The last question, what methods can be employed to deliver personalized experiences without infringing user privacy for a B2B SaaS product? For personalization, I think it's better to rely on user group rather than a particular user persona. So think of this in a way that you have 20 different personas using your product. So think about Uber, for example. There can be 10 types of people using Uber. So one can be a student who's taking the ride every day from his home to college. Another can be a student who's driving a car for extra income over the weekends. And a third one can be an office goer who needs to book a ride 2 times a day to commute. And another persona can be a driver who is working for a partner who has 10 cars running for Uber. All these different personas may have different motivations and reasons behind using the app, but on a broader level, you can group these personas into 3 umbrellas: drivers, riders, and partners. Drivers can further have 5 different personas, riders may have 10 different personas, and so on, but on the highest level, Uber is being used by 3 different kind of user groups. So now coming back to your question, when you think about personalization, stop thinking about personas and start thinking about user groups. Think more high level and you will not have to worry about infringing your user privacy here. When you design a feature for a particular user group, you're essentially personalizing the experience of that group without worrying too much about the details that you don't need to worry if the person is a student or a housewife or whatever. You only work on a high level and consider them as a part of a broader group. That is what will help you design more personalized solutions. So, if you have any more questions, you can feel free to send them to me on my email and you can follow me on my socials. Thank you for joining the workshop today.